Okay, I know there's still a few people trickling in, but I think we can go ahead and get started. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. I'm seeing a lot of new names. That's fantastic. We love having new people join our little online education platforms. My name is Zach Olson. I'm with the Iowa Center on the education team. We've been doing these online webinars for about a week now. I hope we're getting the hang of it. I hope everybody's getting the information that they'd like from these. I will first point everyone to our resources page, our COVID-19 resources page on our website. If you have any questions about financial, business, legislative, legal, FAQs, please check out that page. There's a whole lot of information there for you. We have an Instagram handle at the Iowa Center. We are constantly updating that with new webinars, new teaching tools, new community news and outreach. So please keep up to date with that. And we have a Facebook group called the Iowa Small Business Resources and Support Group. That's been really proven to be a wonderful support community for local business owners to discuss what they're currently seeing in the community and put forth questions to others within and outside their industries. So please check all those out. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on myself. I know Russ has a lot to talk about today, so without a whole lot more, I want to say thanks to Russ. This is Navigating Grants, TSB Sole Operator Fund.
Hello, everyone. I just want to quickly give a quick background on myself. Normally at the Iowa Center, I spend most of my time either underwriting loans for the small business loan program, or I do stuff on the IT side. So doing, getting to talk to clients and getting to do presentations is a fun little new thing I get to do. And the first thing I'm going to say too is, oh, it's still spotty. Gotcha. I'll try to talk slower then. The first thing I want to say about this grant program is that it's a beast. So I've been helping clients through this for the past week, and it can take anywhere up to 3 to 4 hours to complete both applications if you aren't TSB certified already and you don't have the financial documents. So my word of advice is when you start this and when you're still working on this grant application, that just to hang in there and it will be over soon. So let's go start this presentation. So what we're going to review today is we're going to start with the review of the grant application. We're going to go over what is W-9, what is it, the income statement, and also I want to point out this right now that the income statement is a profit and loss. So when I say profit and loss, I'm also talking about the income statement. They both mean the same thing. Next, we're going to talk about the balance sheet. So I know a lot of you business owners really never had to fill out a balance sheet. So we're going to talk about a balance sheet. We're going to try to fill out a sample one for my fake business, and hopefully it'll give you a good idea of how to fill out a balance sheet for your business. And then we're going to go with an overview of the TSB grant application. TSB certification application. I have to change that to TSB certification application. My bad. And then we're just going to do a quick overview of everything we just talked about, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. All right, so the first thing we're going to go to, and we're going to go to the website, is just a quick overview of the actual grant application. So let me quick go there. I gave you the link on the slideshow, and I'll give you the link in a follow-up email if you want it. But this is the actual starting point for the Sole Operator Fund grant application. Just quickly, it was on the slideshow, but we'll go over it again. So you need 3 months of income statements. So again, I'm going to call it 3 months of P&Ls because I get income statements can be a kind of confusing term because you start thinking, do they only want my revenues or my sales? No, they want your profit and your loss. So both your revenues and your expenses. Truthfully, they just say revenues for March 2019 and 2020, but talking with the grant underwriters, it could only help you if you include both the revenue and the expenses for both those, but if you already submitted it with just the revenues, that's okay. And then The number one issue we're having right now is a balance sheet. Again, we're gonna fill out a balance sheet together, and then we're also gonna fill out a W-9. This right here, the date of business establishment for sole props. Unless you have it on a tax form or any other legal document, you're just gonna have to make your best guess at when your business started. For LLCs, you can actually go to the Secretary of State website and you can see the date that you filed your LLC paperwork. I feel like this is pretty simple. Just describe your economic loss and then your estimated loss of revenues. The reason why they want this date range is that these funds are only going to be used for this date range. So don't give them any loss of revenues past that. And then obviously what you're going to use the funds for. Let's quick go into this. We're going to go into this again when we get to the TSB certification. But again, you have to be TSB certified. You have to be located in the state of Iowa. You have to be operating for profit, less than 4 million in gross income. And then also a big thing is this right here. So, and especially for sole operators, you can think of it as almost 100%. So you're going to have to be 100% owned by female, minority, service disabled, or individual with a disability. And again, can't be used for debts incurred prior to March 17th, the use of funds. So when you go into the application, request, so if you're a sole prop, click sole prop. If you're a single person LLC, so if you're a limited liability company, a sole member S Corp, or a sole member C Corp, if you're that for some reason, just be sure to click single person LLC. Click yes if you are already certified TSB or you've already turned in your application. That's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. Doing business as name, only put it in if your legal business name is different than the name that you advertise to your customers. FEIN, you might also recognize it as an EIN. So if you have an EIN number, which you got through the IRS, you'll use that. If you're a sole proprietor, you use social security number. You can also check on your tax return, your Schedule C, to see which one you usually use. Your address, your legal name, percent owned. This is all pretty self-explanatory. This is another huge one. So unfortunately, this grant fund is only used for people whose primary sources of income is this business. And then these attachments. So we're going to go back to all these attachments really quickly. I just want to get through the rest of the grant application before we go back to that. Again, you're going to have to prove that, for the most part, for the sole prop grant, that you're 100% owned by either one of these, that you're located in Iowa, that you're a for-profit business, and you make less than $4 million. I just go through these. Nothing really much to explain in these. If you have any questions, you can email me. I'll give you my email address at the end of this. And then yep, sign it and submit it. So now let's go back to these attachments, the one that's causing a lot of questions. So let's start out with 3-month income statement. Right now, I suggest you start thinking of the 3-month income statement as a 3-month P&L because we both need your revenue and your expenses. So let's go to a sample one. All right, so I can help you download this. Sorry, I'm gonna read this chat quick. So how I've been doing this, what I've been telling people is that for the grant application, you don't really need a 12-month income statement. All IEDA wants to see is 3 months prior. So I've been telling people to fill out December, January, and February P&L or income statement. Again, they don't want to see the 12 months prior. They just want to see the 3 months prior to the COVID-19 incident. And since you're already submitting a March 2020 revenue or P&L, it doesn't make any sense to submit it again through here. So I've been telling people December, January, and February. So the business name I'm going to use right now is Dale's Pizza. So that's my sample business. Revenue, it would be pizza sales. It would be tips. I'm thinking for other businesses, so like for daycare, it would just be sales you got from the parents' kids or from the government. For hairdressers, again, it would be sales. I would split up like haircuts from product you sell for revenue, definitely. I would split those up. Expenses, you can see them right here. You're not going to be using all these expenses. Only use expenses that are related to your business. My advice on forming a P&L for your business, there's so many businesses and they have so many different types of revenue and expenses. What I would do is I would go to Google and I would type in P&L for your type of business. That's the best way to get the most accurate P&L template you can for your business. So that's my 100% recommendation. If you haven't had a P&L before and you're trying to make one up right now, trying to form one up right now, is to Google one that would normally be used for your business. That way you can make sure you're not missing any expenses or not missing any types of revenue. So basically a P&L, it's just profit and loss and then income, net profit at the end of it. And again, I'll just say it again. It says income statement. I'm calling it P&L because it makes more sense to me. The P&L and the income statement are the same exact document. It's just two different ways you can state it. So don't get confused by that. I just like using P&L more than income statement. All right, so let's go back to this. So we want a 3-month income statement, December, January, February. We would love an income statement or P&L for March 2019 and March 2020, just because it can give the underwriters for this grant a better idea of how your business is running. If you can only give revenues for these 2 dates, that's fine too, but ideally, we would get the expenses too. All right, let's go to balance sheet. Actually, let's talk about the balance sheet first. This is just basically what I talked about with the profit and loss. All right, so the balance sheet is one of the 3 fundamental statements. There's 3 big categories. There's 3 big categories for the balance sheet. It's your assets, your liabilities, and your equity. And now a balance sheet is named the balance sheet because you have to get those to balance. So what the formula is, it's assets equals liabilities plus equity. What are assets? Assets are things that your business owns. And liabilities and equity are the sources of pretty much cash you used for your business to own those. Liabilities are from sources outside the business, and equity is from you. So let's talk about this in a different way. So again, assets are things that your business owns. It's usually ordered by most liquid to least liquid. And when you think of liquidity is the ability to sell an asset or to sell an asset the quickest for its most reasonable market price. Like obviously you can sell a piece of land in a day if the land's worth $1 million and you want to sell it for $1. So that's why you should include, when you're thinking of liquidity for the order, you have to think of how easy can I sell it for its current market price or for the price I bought it for. That's liquidity. So it's not just how quick I can sell it, it's how much I can sell it for its reasonable price. So obviously the most liquid or the most current assets are going to be your cash, your accounts receivable, your inventory, and your prepaid expenses and short-term investments if you have it. Next, going down the line, it's going to take you a little bit longer to sell property, plant, equipment, cars. We can talk about intangible assets later, but you probably shouldn't have intangible assets unless you bought a business. And then other assets, I wouldn't worry too much about that unless you have deferred income taxes. So just remember, in the order that you label your assets is the most liquid to the least liquid. And assets are things that your business owns. Liabilities are things, are cash or loans that your business owes to outside organizations. So that's why you see accounts payable being under the current liabilities, short-term loans, if you owe income taxes to the government, if you owe salaries or wages to your employees, unearned revenue. Yeah, we'll talk about unearned revenue. You probably won't have it, but basically unearned revenue is, let's say you have a customer pay you for services that you haven't delivered to them yet. It's actually a liability. And then long-term liabilities is liabilities that you don't have to pay off for more than a year. So let's talk about one of the most common questions I get for liabilities, and that's, how do I categorize a loan that I have to pay off every single month? How I would do it is, for that loan, let's say it's like a 3-year loan, I would include the first 12 months of that loan's principal payments under short-term loans, and year 2 and year 3 under, it's not there, but I would include it under long-term loans. So that's how I would kind of split that up. Accounts payable, pretty much always going to be under current liabilities, and any loans that are under 12 months, just included in that. But basically current liabilities are payments or liabilities your business has that are due within a year, and long-term liabilities are loans or payments or accounts payable, or that would be due past a year. And then our favorite part is our equity. So equity is retained earnings that you haven't dispersed to your members. It's money that you put into the business. It's basically money that is 100% owned by you, the sole proprietor or the single member LLC. So that's your money. Liabilities are other people's money, is another way to think about it. And again, the big formula you have to remember is equity plus liabilities equals your business assets. So if that formula doesn't work out to be true, then there's something wrong with your balance sheet. All right, so let's go try to fill out a sample balance sheet. So I'm going to use my pizza company again. So I look at my bank account. I have, and this is, so balance sheets and P&Ls, normally, if you're going to get like a $50 million loan, I would go to an accountant. I would get it to be a certified financial document. If you're going for another huge loan at a bank, maybe less than $50 million, I would maybe get it reviewed by an accountant. But the hurdle we got to pass for this loan is we just have to compile it. So we're not looking to have, we're not going to pay an accountant to spend that. We're not going to pay an accountant thousands of dollars to come up with it for us. Sorry.
Hey, Russ, you mind if I jump in for just a second?
Yeah.
We had a question. Will we get access to these document templates to download? I just want to point everyone to our website. If you go to our homepage and then resources and then tools, there's a link to all of these spreadsheets.
Gotcha. All right, the net revenue reports again. So revenue, so if you look at the required documents again on the grant application, they require a revenue report for March 2019 and March 2020. So if you want to do the bare minimum, I would just show your sales for March 2019 and March 2020, and they can be both separate. If you want, though, you can include them in the same report. That would probably help out the underwriters, but they can definitely be separate. and they are going to use them to kind of compare between the 2 years, if that answers your question, Chris. All right. So Jennifer, I mean, you're passing revenue to pay for living expenses. You can do that as a withdrawal for expenses. So owner withdrawal. That's why I would put it as just an owner withdrawal, and I would put it on your P&L. I mean, for this purpose, for the purpose of this grant, they want to see your expenses. So just put it in your P&L for this grant purpose for living expenses. And for the balance sheet, I mean, I'm not trying to get like a working balance sheet going. We just want a balance sheet for this point in time. So if you wanted a working balance sheet, yeah, you would take that out of your retained earnings. But I mean, we're not looking for you to create a working balance sheet. We just want a balance sheet for this date and time, or for the date and time that you're going to fill out your grant application. So for the most part, living expenses, I would just put them as an owner withdrawal on your P&L. Just that would probably help the underwriters out the most. All right. So again, this is not a certified balance sheet. We're not asking for a certified balance sheet. We're just asking you to do your best, show your business's assets, liabilities, and equity. So this doesn't have to be a certified document. So what I'm asking you to do with the cash is just go into your business bank account and see how much cash you have in there. And this is if you already don't have a balance sheet. Obviously, if you already have a balance sheet ready, then use that balance sheet. This is more for people who don't have a balance sheet at all. Inventory, I total up that I have. I can do here other supplies. I have maybe $5,000 in pizza. I can sell that pizza dough really quick. Tools, I don't know, we'll do 2,000. And then I prepaid my insurance out by 500. That's how much I pay per year. And then my fixed assets, I don't own the building, so I pay rent. So I really don't have any, I don't really have any equipment. I rent out the entire building. The building knows everything. Let me see. Cool. All right, that's just that. If we want, we could say maybe I own the pizza oven, and I paid $3,000 for that. So another question you're probably going to get is, how do I classify how much something I bought 2 years ago is worth? Use the amount you paid for it 2 years ago. That's what you should use for the asset dollar amount. Intangible assets. So intangible assets are things you can't put your hands on. So it's like your business name. So Google, I'm sure they label their trademark, the name Google as worth a couple $1 million. For general purposes, I wouldn't include anything as an intangible asset unless you purchased it from another business. So let's say you bought a business and you paid $5,000 above the book value for all the assets, and you made that justification because you thought the business name was worth $5,000 extra. So I put $5,000 for intangible assets. If it's one you created, for the most part, I definitely wouldn't put anything for intangible assets, just because it's hard to really put a dollar amount on how much it's worth unless you've already purchased it yourself.
Hey, Russ, we've got a couple more questions.
Oh, yeah, not bad. So let me explain why I use the annual amount for insurance. So what I should have done, and that's my bad. So let's say I paid $500 for insurance in January, prepaid insurance for the entire year. So what I should have done was I should have taken 500 times 9/12. So I've really only used, here, let's actually do that right. So I paid $500, but it's only been 3 months. So let's do 9 divided by 12. So I really only used, you can think about it, 3 months of it. So 9 months of that prepaid insurance I haven't used yet. So that's still an asset for me. So that's why I use that amount. And yeah, I should have corrected it to that or explained that more. So
we've got one more question. Can you read those aloud too while you're reading them? So just in case anybody's not looking at the chat function.
Oh yeah, my bad. So Jennifer S. asked, you used an annual amount for insurance. Did we use annual totals for all balance sheet info? I'm scared. So, I mean, balance sheet is your assets, liabilities, and equity at a certain point in time. So I paid $500 in January for the entire year of prepaid insurance. So I've only used 3 months of it. So I still have 9/12 of it left that I really haven't used yet. So that's why I should have used 375 for the asset amount.
We do have one more question from Chris.
Yep,
you can scroll up a bit about the revenue reports.
Chris, again, my bad. It's March 2019. Include all your sales for March 2019 and March 2020. And they just want to see a comparison between those because they want to see what's the difference in revenue between those 2 months. And I can email you this too if you still didn't hear the question. Sorry, the answer. Okay, so again, the balance sheet, we're just looking for your best idea of what your assets are at this time. That's the hurdle we have to cross for current assets, fixed assets, and liabilities and equity. It's not going to be audited. It doesn't need to be certified by an accountant. We just need to pass the hurdle of, we need to get a general idea of what your assets, liabilities, and equity are for your business. Okay, let's go to current liabilities. So again, current liabilities are things that your business owes that are due in less than 12 months. So this might be a little bit easier. So, I mean, let's say I owe another organization $600. I have a $6,000 loan due in 6 months. I paid all my income taxes. I don't have any employees, so I don't need to worry about that. And nobody has paid me for pizzas that I haven't delivered yet. Yep, Chris, I'll send you an email. Let's do an example of a loan that's a 5-year loan that you have that we have to include in both current liabilities and long-term liabilities. So yes, I already have the $6,000 loan, but then I also have another loan for $10,000. And let's pretend that in the next 12 months, 3,000 of that is due in principal payments. And then And then that means $7,000 in principal is due after 1 year. So year 2, year 3, year 4 is due after a year. So that's how I would split up a $10,000 loan. And then if you want any questions about that, oops, sorry. Nope, okay, cool. So that's how I would split up a loan is the first 12 months of the loan's principal payments need to be in current liabilities, and anything after 12 months of your loan payments need to be in long-term liabilities. And if you want to be extra careful, you shouldn't include interest payments unless you're behind on, unless you're pretty much behind on interest payments. And then I would include that under current liabilities. But other than that, only include the principal payments on your loans. And then the final section would be equity. So another way to get equity is to take your, if you've done total assets and all your liabilities, is to take your total asset amount and minus it out by your total current liabilities and your long-term liabilities. And let's do that right now. Oops. So I take my total liabilities, I minus it by my, of course my balance sheet isn't going to balance, as you can see. So let's give me, I took out a $10,000 loan, so let's pretend that I bought a $10,000 piece of equipment. So we have total assets minus current liabilities minus long-term liabilities. That means I put in $6,775 of my own money to get the assets, and everything else came from outside organizations. So again, there's a couple of different ways you can do this formula, but it's the one you might want to use is assets minus liabilities. I spelled liabilities wrong, equals equity. That's my favorite way to do it, is this formula. If your assets minus your liabilities don't equal your equity, you're wrong. Another way to think of it is, yeah, you can rearrange this formula is total liabilities plus equity equal your assets. So just make sure they balance. Yeah, good question, Jennifer. So how do you handle home office expenses when running as part of your household? I mean, you honestly, you just have to figure out, like, of those home office expenses, what part is for your business. And if you want to go further in on that, let's do that during the Q&A, just because I might not be getting your full question, but yeah, let's bring that up again during the Q&A, because I think we may need to delve further in on that. Okay, so as you can see, it is quite a process, and we're not even close to being done yet. So let's continue on. Oops. The current slide. Okay, so let's do a quick review of the things we talked about at the start. We'll go back to number 2. So for the sole prop grant, you need to be a single member business. You have to be TSB certified, and we're still going to get to that. And then a primary source of income for your business. This is the link you can see. Profit and loss income statement is pretty simply, it's just income minus expenses. A balance sheet is your business's assets, liabilities, and shareholder equity. Shareholder equity, it's not going to, I'm sorry, it's just going to be owner's equity, because you're not giving out shares of your business or anything. So you can think of it as owner's equity. Again, just another way to get the formula going right. And just remember, the balance sheet isn't over a period of time. It's at a single point in time, if that helps you. It's a snapshot. So you have to think of a balance sheet as at a certain date in time. So let's go to the TSB application, which is another beast. Okay. So in the spreadsheet, the presentation that I'm sending out, you can see the link for that. It's also under the grant application. You can just click on this little link right here, if that's easier for you. So you get here, you see that you have to be located in the state of Iowa. You have to be a for-profit business. You have to be making less than $4 million in gross income. What's gross income? That's revenue minus cost of goods sold. My example, if you don't know what cost of goods sold is, an example of that would be like for a restaurant, your cost of goods sold would be the product you buy, the food you buy. If you don't have a good idea of what your cost of goods sold for your business type would be, I would type in cost of goods sold and then for whatever business type you are. And then again, you have to be 51% or more owned by one of these groups. All right, so let's go into this. So you do start application. Oops. Got your question, Jennifer. I'll answer the one part of it right now. 2019 and 2020, honestly, yeah, the example we're using where it has 2019 and 2020, I'll actually get that corrected on our website too. We only want one balance sheet for whatever date that you send that application in. So you don't need two balance sheets. It was on the example. For your purposes, it might be kind of nice, or for anybody's purposes, it might be kind of nice to see a change in the balance sheet between two dates. But for this grant application, you only need it for a snapshot of whatever day that you submit the application. But yeah, we can talk about it during Q&A too. Okay. Okay, so this is the first page you would get to if you click start application. You pretty much have to select yes for everything and then select what category you would qualify for. And then you click register. Then you fill out your email, a username and password, and you should remember that. After you do that, should have been in previous already. So I'll start talking about it. The first couple pages are pretty simple. It's just your business information, your name, who the owners are, contact information. It's nothing crazy. The first 3 or 4 pages are pretty quick to get through. Just standard information you probably filled out 5 times already. But we'll go through it all just in case. So your business name, your business structure, your date started. Again, if you're an LLC and you forget your date started, just go to the Iowa Secretary of State website, and then there's a directory that you can search. Your FEIN or your social security number if you're a sole prop. And then you don't need to put this here, but if you want, you can search for your NAICS code, but you don't need to put that there. Contact information, just pretty self-explanatory, nothing crazy here. Owners, I mean, if you're gonna apply for this grant, I would hope that there'd only be one owner, or else it's gonna be kind of hard to get the grant. So just do add owner, and then add all of this information. Date acquired ownership, I'm probably sure for 99% of you, it's just going to be the date that you started it. They just ask this question just in case you bought into the business later on. But for most of you, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the date that you started your business. And they need your social security number because they're going to run a background check on you. I'm sorry, I have a credit report. Next. Board members. I don't believe any of you are going to have board members, but if you do, just add a board member. Business licenses and service categories. I know people have been putting, if they're like hairstylists, they'll put their license number to do hair. This is more just industry specific if you have to add a license. And you can definitely add a service category too. All right, this is where all the fun questions start happening. How did you acquire it? If you created a business yourself, just put founder. This would be up to you if you have business debt or not. I would put one because most of you are single member LLCs or sole props. And then again, you can search for this. If you're an LLC, if you're a sole prop, you wouldn't have to fill out this, but if you're an LLC or an S Corp or something like that, you'd have to fill out a biannual report. So search the Secretary of State website for that for that date. And then what your business does. Okay. So this is where you might need to start doing some research. So they want your business income for the most 3 previous years of your business. If you haven't been in business for 3 years, then obviously you gotta shorten that to how many months or years you've been in business. Your gross income is your revenues minus your cost of goods sold. So that means don't put all your expenses in there. If you need an explanation of gross income, I think it's in the slides, but you can also Google it too. But again, it's revenue minus cost of goods sold. So don't include all your expenses or your taxes. I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is the part that tricks most people up because it's kind of hidden. So most people are just submitting their tax returns. But if you see under step 1, they actually have to load a little bit more additional documents than just your tax return. So click on this TSB required documents. And then as you can see, yep, we got to submit a couple other documents. So registration of business name, go on the Secretary of State website and search for your business name if you don't have that paper. Proof of targeted group person status, see list below. So we can go through this. It looks like for a lot of it, you need to submit either a driver's license, birth certificate. If you have a disability, you have to include one of these. Most people will just do the licensed medical physician. They just get that document from them. You can use the form right here. You just got to get that form signed by a licensed medical physician or one of these if applicable. 2 years of business tax returns. We're going to go back to that in a second. Proof of liability insurance. Yep, you just have to upload a copy of that. And then a copy of your license, registrations, permits for your business. If you purchased the business within the last 5 years, include that. You won't have that if you're the founder of the business. And then we'll talk about this later on too. So first, let's talk about the tax returns you got to upload. So for sole props, you're going to be doing, or for single member LLCs, you're going to be doing your taxes and your personal taxes. So you're going to fill out a Schedule C. So this is going to, these 2 statements are going to most be important to you. So if you've been in business if you have 2 years of business taxes already, then I would include the first 2 pages of your return, and then your Schedule C. If you have less than 2 years of business taxes, maybe you only have 1 year of business taxes and then one personal return for the year prior, include your personal return for 2017 maybe, and then your business tax return for 2018. And this applies to, so you aren't required to submit your business tax returns for 2019 yet. So it's totally okay if you've been in business for more than 2 years, but you don't have your business tax return for 2019. So the answer I got from the person who's certifying these TSBs is if you don't already have your 2019 business tax return, just submit your 2018 and your 2017. If you're an S Corp, this basically is the tax return for the S Corp. So just submit your first 2 pages of your S Corp tax return along with the Schedule K for each owner, which hopefully should just be 1 because you're filing for the sole prop. And then, yep. And then this is for partnerships. I don't think anyone should be in a partnership if they're applying for the sole prop grant, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. And then this right here, so the TSB certifier just wants a statement saying everything is true and everything, and they want it to be notarized. So what you got to do with this is you got to click it. Say, yep, everything's true, date it, sign it, and then what you got to get to do, which is a little bit harder, especially in this day and age with everything being closed down, is you have to get a notarizer. So there's actually 2 options for this. So you can go to a bank, and I've had lots of people I've talked to on the phone just go to banks to get this signed by a notary. They haven't had any trouble. I would call the bank up beforehand just to make sure that they're still doing through the window notarization, or you can email tjdaniels@theiowacenter.org, and what you got to do is send her a copy of this plus a copy of your driver's license, and she can actually notarize it electronically without having to meet you in person. So I would definitely recommend that. Second. True. So, I mean, yeah, sorry. If you're going to a bank, don't sign it until you're in the presence of a notary. But, and I can send an email out for this, but I know, I think it was a new process passed, I think yesterday, that you can do online notaries. So, is TJ still in here? TJ, if you want to add any more on that, you can definitely do that about the process of doing it online. But yeah, I'm sorry. If you're going to a bank,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the question about the online notary?
Yeah. What's the process for that?
Okay, I just need you to email me your photo ID, and then I will email you back a link for a DocuSign document. And then all you have to do is sign and date, and then I'll notarize it and it'll get sent back to you. So it's pretty easy and straightforward.
Yep. Here. So TJ. All right. So I put her email address in that. If you're going to a bank, yeah, Chris is definitely right. Don't sign it until you're in the presence of a notarizer. So yeah, my bad on that. I didn't word that correctly. So if you're going to a bank to get this done, don't sign it until you're in the presence of someone. If you're doing it with TJ, just follow the steps that she tells you. Cool. All right, so you get all those documents. I know it's a lot. You get all those documents, and then you click add documents. You add them all. One request is that you label them Yep, they're doing the drive-through. I've had 3 or 4 people do it, and they said it was like a 5-minute process at the bank. They all love it. Sorry, someone just rose their hand. Oops. Jennifer, it doesn't look like you have a chat, like a microphone. I tried to make it so you can talk, but it doesn't look like you have it. So I would just type it in chat. Okay, cool. All right, so you submit all these documents. Again, a list is right here. I follow this list right here to make sure you got everything you need. Get it signed by a notary, either through a bank, through the drive-through. Don't sign it until you get to the drive-through, or do it through TJ online. Then click next and save. These 2 are just optional. I've confirmed it. You can upload your business logo if you want to. There's actually a database people can search for your TSB businesses. So a logo might help your business stand out more if you have a logo. And then a capability statement, I believe it's just a statement of what services your business can provide. So after you're done with all that, just click next and save. And then submit it. It takes them 7 to 10 days. If you forgot to submit something or you submitted something wrong, I know the certifier, she'll work with you. We've been working with the TSB certifier for years now. She's really helpful. She'll go back and forth with the client, help them out, help them complete the application. So if you miss one document or something goes wrong, she's not going to decline you right away. She'll work with you to get everything working out. Yeah, good question. So, I mean, not everyone has a scanner to be able to scan it, especially since they can't go to work. So, I mean, that's what I would have to do. So Jennifer's question was, can we take photos of our documents and attach it that way? I would say right now, yes, just because that's the only option you have. We can't force you to go buy a scanner or anything. I mean, the best you can do is just take a picture and upload it. She can still see that picture. Just make sure it's a really good picture of the document you're taking off. And she'll definitely work with you. It's not one of those where you submit everything wrong the first time that you're done forever. It's a back and forth process with this. And even with the grant application too, it's a back and forth process. I don't know if anyone's ever talked to the grant underwriters yet, but both these processes, both these applications, it's back and forth. So if you mess 1 or 2 things up, they'll just ask you for those documents, or they'll ask you to correct the documents. It's totally fine.
Russ, you mind if I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
There are also quite a few phone apps, scanner apps that allow you to more easily save those pictures as a PDF. So that might be a little easier to utilize.
And yeah, Jill Lippincott is still the TSB certifier. She's an awesome person. She'll definitely work with you. We've had nothing but good things of working with her, and nothing but good things from clients who have worked with her. All right, so talked a lot. Oops, make sure I'm not missing anything. So this is just, I mean, this really isn't for the grant application, but this just kind of shows you again, ignore the cash flow. I just couldn't get rid of it in time, but cash flow is also important, but not for this grant application. Income statements are for a period of time, so that's why we're asking them for like a month or a 3-month period. Balance sheets, we're always asking for them for a date and time. Income statements show your profitability. Balance sheets show your financial position. The measurables, starting points, and the ending points. So think of income statements, again, over a period of time and balance sheets at a point in time. That's what best helps me kind of separate those and see why they're so different from each other. And actually, just because I like balance sheets so much, here's a good ratio that you can use. So even if you don't use, so again, ignore 2019, just use 2020. But a good ratio to see like what kind of financial position your business is in is, it's called the quick ratio. So it's current assets divided by total current liabilities. And what does that say you? What does that tell you? That if your business comes into a situation where you have to pay back all your current liabilities, it says if you can actually pay them back or not using your current assets. Because obviously, like, so if current assets divided by current liabilities, if that's less than 1, then that means you might be in trouble if all your current liabilities come due within a short period of time. So what I should tell you to do is to somehow get more current assets on your balance sheet. So that's always been my favorite ratio when it comes to the balance sheet. If you want to keep using it past the grant, is to always have a good idea of what your quick ratio is, which is, again, current assets divided by total current liabilities. And that just shows your ability to pay off short-term liabilities at any point in time. And you always want it to be above 1. So again, I'm just gonna put this in here. So you can do it all in an Excel sheet, but what I would recommend to you in the future, if you don't do it already, is to, oops. I mean, so the 2 revenue forms would honestly just be the first part of the P&L. I can send out just that part if you want to, if you don't want to come up with the expenses, yes. So I can definitely email you, everyone here, the 2 months of revenue statements, the sample balance sheet, and I can also send people a W-9 too, which we're actually gonna go over right after I talk about this, because I forgot to talk about it. I'll email everyone in this chat. Awesome, awesome, awesome. But my suggestion for the balance sheet is to Google it and type in balance sheet for whatever industry you're in, just because every single industry is going to have different types of revenue and different types of expenses. All right, cool. And, oh no. All right, I'm going to get to the chat right after I talk about this. So there's pretty much 3 levels of accounting you can do. Obviously, the best level of accounting you can do is honestly just hiring an outside accountant. But I understand that hiring an outside accountant is pretty expensive, especially if you want one to keep current financial statements for you. That can be thousands of dollars a year. So if you don't want to spend the money on that, which I totally understand, I would really suggest that you would spend money on either QuickBooks or FreshBooks. Those are my 2 favorite. It's QuickBooks and FreshBooks. I think like the sole prop or the simplest version you can buy is about $10 a month. So that's probably around $100 a year you would spend on this accounting software, and it would definitely make your accounting and financial statement creation a lot easier. And then below that would just be using Excel sheets. So, I mean, you can use Excel sheets, but it's probably not going to be more accurate than the accounting software or the accountant. All right, go into chats. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, so, I mean, Jennifer, yeah, the QuickBooks Self-Employed doesn't have a balance sheet, so, and I'll definitely send it out. I mean, theoretically, if you're self-employed, if you're a sole prop, there's actually no difference between you and your business. You're both the same entity, so they could come after you and your personal assets if you're a sole prop. So theoretically, I guess your balance sheet would be both you and your personal assets for sole prop. But for this grant application, even if you're a sole prop, only include the assets, liabilities, and equity for your business. So just use the Excel sheet. Cool. And yeah, I'll send out the accounting software list. Gotcha. And then yeah, Chris, balance sheet and QuickBooks. For your business, we can do a one-on-one discussion too, but for your business, I would say definitely Google a balance sheet for your business type. And then if you need to, then if QuickBooks doesn't help at all, then just use an Excel sheet for at least the grant purposes. All right, so the last thing we need to talk about is W-9, and then we can go to Q&A. And I know we're over the form, so I'm gonna try to go through this as quick as possible. My first number one suggestion for the W-9 is if you already filled one out before, fill it out, find that copy of the W-9 you filled out before, and then just fill it out the same way. And then all you need to do is just sign and date it with today's date or whatever date you sign it with. So for sole props and single member LLCs, name, business name, and then for the most part, select this right here. All right. If you're a sole prop or a single member LLC, select this right here. Cool. And then your address, city, state, zip. And then I've never had to fill out this at any point. If you do, you probably would know about it. And then for sole props, fill out your social security number. For single member LLCs, oops. Cool. And then for single member LLCs, use your EIN number right there. And then all you have to do is just sign it and date it. It's pretty simple. I don't think we haven't noticed too many cases of people actually messing this up. Just your name, business name. If you're a sole prop or a single member LLC, select this checkbox, address, social security number for sole prop, EIN number for single member LLC, and then sign and date. One thing actually people always gets people is if you try to do this, like if I were to try to do this in this window right here, it might not actually save it. So what you got to do is you have to download the Adobe Reader, or else it might not save it after you make the changes. So download Adobe Reader, view this document in Adobe Reader. You can see right here, it says it contains forms, filling forms is not supported. You have to fill it out in Adobe Reader, or you have to print it out, fill it out all yourself, and then take a picture of it or scan it. Or you can just download it in Adobe Reader, which is free, and then fill it out that way, save it, and then upload it that way. So that'd be my suggestion for that. All right, we are at questions. We're way over time, sorry about that. Does anybody have any questions? Here, let me go back to the chat. I know I had one. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through it all over again. So Jennifer, can I actually, can I actually unmute you just so you can say your question about the office expenses? I just want to make sure I'm getting the full. Oops. The full answer from you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so because I'm a single member LLC, but
Yeah.
I operate out of my home business, I deduct my home office expenses, % of utilities, internet, phone, mortgage, all of that stuff. Do I include those as liabilities, short-term being what's percent has been paid between January through March, and then long-term liabilities be April through December, or do I not include it at all?
I would include those. I mean, at least right now.